So now we know how thick the atmosphere is, we can answer the question, should flying cars fly low or high? We know that if you go high, you're above, in principle, a lot of the atmosphere. How high would you need to go? Well, remember the atmosphere drops in density by about a factor of E every 7 kilometers or so. So maybe if you're 10 kilometers up, your density would be down a factor of 3. Factor of 3 improvement. But there is a cost to going high. Remember when we had to climb, you need to use up potential energy mgh. So if we have a car that weighs 1500 kilograms, we have g is about 10. Our gravity actually gets slightly weaker as you go up, but 10 kilometers up makes almost no difference because it depends on the distance from the center of the Earth. So going from 6,400 kilometers from the center of the Earth to 6,410 is not a big percentage change. So g is about 10. H is 10 kilometers, which is 10 to the 4 meters. So the energy is around, we'll call that 10 to the 3 times 10 times 10 to the 4, which is about 10 to the 8 joules. So I'm approximating 1500 as 1000 because it's only a ninja calculation. Now if you remember that 10 to the 8 joules is about what it took to overcome air resistance driving to Sydney. So that's telling us that the energy needed to climb above most of the atmosphere is about the same as the energy you'd burn up just travelling at sea level. So for the trip to Sydney at 110 kilometers an hour, it turns out that it's actually, there's no obvious right answer. The amount of energy you lose climbing to 10 kilometers, it will be offset by roughly speaking, by the amount you'd save by the reduced wind resistance, but you could stay low as well. So what's the best strategy? Well, this amount of energy is only spent once per trip, whereas the drag is per kilometer you travel. So if you have a short trip, it doesn't make sense to climb. You should just cruise along at low altitude. If you're going to New York or somewhere thousands of kilometers away, then it absolutely makes sense to climb as high as you possibly can. It'll burn you a lot of energy getting up that high, but you'll earn it back many, many times over traveling. So generally, low altitude for small trips, like doing the shopping run within a city, high altitude for long distance. It'll also depend a bit on how fast you're going. This 10 to the 8 joules energy for drag was for a car going at 110 kilometers an hour. But if you're going to try and go much faster, like a jetliner does 800 kilometers an hour, the drag is going to be much better. So that would tilt the balance towards going high to get above the atmosphere, even for short trips. So high or low, it depends. Short trips, low speeds, stay low. Long trips, high speeds, go high.